This is the last remnant of America's Wild West. It's raw and untamed and remote and largely untouched. It's a beautiful but hostile landscape full of spines and cliffs and unrelenting heat in the day and brutal cold at night. Many people consider this trail to be one of the best single tracks in the world. This is a trail that was so secret that when a few local friends finally showed me where it was, they swore me to secrecy that I would never share its name or location. And I had to be careful not to show any identifying landmarks, even if I were to film the staging area in my videos. I have since stuck to this, and even though it's one of my favorite trails and I've ridden it dozens of times, it's only showed up in a handful of videos. But now it's out there. In fact, it's so out there that even Google has it mapped. And the trail has paid for this fame in some less than awesome ways. It's ruddier, it has more whoops, it's more washed out, it has more dugout sections from wheel spin, and therefore it no longer has that flow that it was known for. And it's scarred by dozens of tracks and offshoots splitting off of the original. I mean, it's not ruined by any means, but it's certainly not getting any better. So what are your thoughts on sharing GPS tracks and videos or any other information regarding locations and routes of local secret trails online? And I don't mean public trails that are already mapped. And I don't mean shared with people that you ride with face to face. I mean sharing well-kept local secrets online through websites and social media with total strangers en masse. Is that okay with you? When I first moved to St. George, I saw no harm in sharing my tracks online because my YouTube channel at that time was still just a few thousand subscribers, and I learned a hard lesson. Go back with me to when I first moved here. I had very little off-road experience. I was just getting used to the Mighty Duck. Local riders weren't interested in riding with some slow new guy with a dorky little YouTube channel on a dual sport, and for the most part, they're still not. They were even less interested in sharing the locations of local trails. I was bothered by what I thought was just total snobbiness. Why weren't they telling me about the trails here? Maps were no help since only about 5% of all these trails are even named, let alone mapped. So my lonely but ultimately fulfilling journey started. spent hundreds of amazing hours out in the Badlands by myself, exploring, finding trails, and making mental maps of each of their difficulties and alternate routes, and rare features like springs and shade. And after I'd found a good amount of trails, people on my channel started asking me if I could share my GPS breadcrumbs, and I saw no harm in it and made an account on Map My Tracks. It quickly gained followers, and at the time I was happy to share tracks that I thought nobody would really ride to make my followers happy. But then over the next year I noticed a difference in the single tracks and sparse double tracks that I had shared. The popularity of side-by-sides in St. George was booming, and any trail searchable online paid for it dearly. Fast forward to today, and the pristine trails I shared are now whooped out, rutty, sandy, and the width of 3-lane highways because people who found these trails on Google didn't much like whoops or sand or ruts, so they'd just ride to the side of all the tough bits and just make a new, easier trail. And we want to help people have a good time riding in St. George whether they ride with us or not, and obviously we're okay with sharing these trails to small groups or individuals, but at the same time, I completely understand why the local riders didn't share the trails with me when I was new in town. What bigger threat to their trails could there be than some dopey YouTuber showing off their most secret trails and sharing the tracks to everybody on Earth with internet access? Well, knowing what I know now, they weren't being snobby, they were just vetting me for the sake of their gorgeous trails. And I'm on board with that. I think we should be careful with what we put out there for everybody online to see, because when a trail or hike or location goes viral, there's really no way to get that cat back in the bag. If this topic is worth discussing with your local riding group, sharing this video with them would be very appreciated and hopefully will help your group set some boundaries on which trails should be shared openly and which ones should be kept as local treasures. A huge thanks to Gabe from Torture Test magazine for helping me guide and film the shred rally you just watched bits from, and thanks to Ben, Josh, Keith, and Guy, the repeat offender, for joining me in Southwest Utah on that rally. Another huge thanks to the patrons and producers who make all of my videos possible, and a big thanks to you for hanging out with us today and watching. And if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard, and if you'd like to see more like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Again, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I hope you have a great day. As always, much love, guys. eveRide out.